we're back. And you don't want to see me, you want to see some of this carnage. Let's see here. Can I zoom that in? Yeah, there we go. All right. I don't see anybody in here at this point, but there probably will be soon. I'm just gonna... Oh man. All right, waiting for folks to show up. Okay, we've got this XR650L engine that I've been kind of putting on the back burner, and you can see probably at the top of that crankshaft some carnage. The reason why there's carnage is because I cut that flywheel off. A long time was put into, a lot of time and effort was put into this. Oh boy. Hello, welcome to the live. This is something that I've talked about on the channel, and if you're new, make sure and subscribe to the channel, please. We're doing some projects, but that doesn't look like a normal flywheel. It's because I cut it off. Why did I cut it off? I stripped out the flywheel centerpiece here, which is the puller, and I've stripped out my tool. I've got another tool that's laying over here somewhere, but it's not supposed to look like that. But I almost threw in the towel on rebuilding this thing, but I gained some new resolve and decided to try to give this thing some love. What does that mean? That means that I went ahead and split the cases last night on this thing, and I'm seeing, let's see if we can pop in here a little bit. See this carnage? I think this may be from the casting, but that looks like cracking. This case is really freaking heavy. There we go, back to normal. But in removing the case half, the bearing halfway came out, and you can see I got a bearing that came out on the transmission side. Oh well. You're welcome to anybody that's jumping in here. This is XR650L Carnage, and let's see if we can see this. There's some markings on this case, and I'm going to examine this, but this is not good. It doesn't look good. Why are we here? That is a good question. Thanks for asking. Make sure and jump into the chat if you get a chance to. The whole premise for us working on this, hello Jordan, thanks for jumping in here. This is why. This is the intake side of the piston. Yeah, what's up? Anna, Jordan, thank you. Thank you for stopping in. And this is why we're in here. This chunk of aluminum for the American pronunciation, should still be there. This is what it should be looking like, and that doesn't even look good. We were just going to do a simple top in on this because there was some oil consumption. Well, things escalated, but it got fed. Oh, thank you for subscribing. If you did, thank you, appreciate you. But this is the worst anything that I have had come into the garage, and this is one of my friends. The cylinder is done for. I think I might try to sleeve it, but what I wanted to do is to let some of the folks come into the live, and what I was going to do is remove the other side of this crankshaft. Excuse me, friends. It's been a long day. And if you might see that this is scarred up looking over here, and if you're just joining, it's because I cut this crankshaft, or cut the end of the crankshaft, removing the flywheel. And this is all from my Dremel cutoff wheel, because I stripped the center of the flywheel using the extractor, the flywheel removal tool. Things escalated into trying to use a 3-jaw puller. And I broke that. I broke another one. And I said, you know, I'm not going to give up. I thought about giving up. But man, I'm a little bit discouraged about these cases. I'm going to have to look into these crack-looking markings on these cases. But there's all sorts of metal down in here, and you can tell where that came from. So what I wanted to do is, just for on live, thanks for joining us for that matter. I'm going to take this transmission out of this engine. Look here. Oh, here's a, hey, see that? That's a keeper. That's a keeper, folks. Look at that. We'll just there's going to be more of it, so we're just going to let that sit down here. You know, being as the owner has fed that bottom end all that metal. We had to split the cases because we needed to know where it went. Look, this bearing also came off with it. But a lot of people get scared of transmission components. Okay, I kind of like this. Here's our shift drum. The other part of the shift star for the other end is in another piece where the selector components with the spring is at. So we're leaving those points together. And I'm just going to look at this. Yeah, that should just come out right there. I'm not scared of this, by the way. Okay, so that's how they make this work. This shift fork here, it looks like it has a keep bolt on it to keep it on it. That's rather interesting. You know, I've worked on a lot of dirt bike engines, and you know, a lot of things are similar and some things are not. So we're just going to try to get this out of here. And this is my first time dealing with one of these. I think what I'm going to do, I don't think I am. I thought I was going to be able to get this bearing off of here, but just to know how screwed this is, that came off out of the cases. Thanks for interacting with the chat, by the way. So I'm just going to try to remove this transmission because I don't want parts going everywhere. I'm going to take this bearing and put it back in the cases just for safekeeping. I cannot get this one off of there. That would make things very convenient for us, but it ain't happening. So that means I can't get this. Well, I might be able to get this off of here. No, if I can get this to raise a little bit more. Again, this is our first go on an XR650L. We may just be able to remove this whole transmission tranny, if you will. Oh, yeah, we did. As an assembly. That's kind of cool. I'll set this out to the side. And whenever you're doing this, you got to make sure and keep things in order, especially if you have any washers. That's that. Everything came out nice. So let's take a look. See, we got a tranny, folks. I would say boys but it looks like we have some women's. We might have some women's in here. We like the women's. But yeah, transmission. Woo. So I'm just going to take this thing and okay, yeah, you got to keep everything accounted for. I'm just going to put that in my baggie. That's not what I was hoping to happen. Live YouTube, that's what you get. Not ideal, but everything came off in an organized manner. Got a washer. And there we go. All hope is not lost. It's right here. Don't worry. I'm putting that in my baggie and sealing it up. Hey, you know, not everybody's willing to be transparent about stuff like that. That's the way of the road. Okay, so I'm checking over here, making sure we don't have any washers. This is embarrassing. Yeah. What are you gonna do? Will this come out of here without me pounding on it? Doesn't look like it. So what we're going to do, at least I'm going to try to do, is flip this thing over and take it to Pound Town. There we go. Came right on out. I didn't have to take it to Pound Town. That is one heavy ass crankshaft. I mean, that's heaviest snot. But we're not going to use this. Wow, that is heavy duty. Just going to set this on top with everything else so I can itemize it later on. We got our counterbalancer. And I did not expect that to come out with such force. It's very apparent. We're just going to set it on. This is not my normal engine stand, by the way. But what I'm doing, let's see here. Can we zoom in? Oh, my fingers got some little bit of oil on it. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to try to keep this in frame. Yeah. And when that piece of aluminum from the piston went down there, that's what we ended up with. There's material stuck in here. I'm just looking at these bearings. Surprisingly, they're free. There's not any restriction. I did not anticipate that. Okay. So it looks like when that initially happened, yeah, there's a few, yeah, here's some grind points. Yeah, there we go. You can kind of see where it dug in. That's not good. I'm going to go back to the non-zoomed out. Would someone please interact with the chat real quick so that we can make sure that someone jump in on the chat and just say something? Sometimes my chat breaks for whatever reason. And I think there's an oil screen down here. I'm going to take a look at it and see what kind of carnage is in there. Oh, old man sounds. Yeah, here it is. $8 millimeter. No, it's not an 8 millimeter. It's a 10 millimeter. This was kind of an impromptu session here. Oh, there's an 8. Here is my 10. There it is. I'm not going to do any working on stuff tomorrow night. I've got to get my stuff ready for going out of town on the track in Nebraska. Okay, here's our bolt. Let's see what all sorts of crazy stuff's in this oil screen that's maybe obliterated. Oh, that's a surprise. Yeah. Well, hello. Thanks for jumping into the chat. Appreciate it. So I would expect that to have been full of stuff. But there is chunks below it. Oh my gosh. Yuck. Oh yeah. Sorry about that. That's a keeper. That sucks. But yeah, that's just what we were doing. Oof. This thing got hot at some point. Everything in here got hot and bothered. So I saw some of the chunks yesterday when I got into this, and I was just like, oh no. But yeah, this is the, okay, hold on. No, that's okay. I'm just looking for any internals, Carnage. Gosh, there's a lot of metal. Let's get a rag here. And can you see? Can you see? Yeah. Now that's all aluminum. That would be non-magnetic. But what I'm looking for I think this might be just casting marks rather than cracks, but they're sus. There's cracks, what appear to be cracks all along here, so we're gonna have to evaluate this. There's a lot of marking down here where it fell down into the cases, so my interpretation here is obviously this would not be viable if we just put the top end on there with all that metal going down in to the bottom end. So I'm going to have a conversation with the owner and say, with what we'll spend on this, we may be better off getting a donor engine and just hoping for the best, because that went through there and it had its way with everything. And awful. So that's kind of where we're at with this. It was kind of a reveal of the shit show that is this project. The bike's over here. My garage is kind of a mess, as usual. But there's the bike. There's my weed eater. But there's the bike. It's a really decent looking bike, but its engine is doo-doo. Yeah. But it's let's see. Oops, sorry. Oh, hello. It is Two-Stroke Tuesday. So there's that. Ooh. Anyway, that's kind of where we're at right here. Yeah, let's zoom this in. I'm going to take this off the tripod for now. This is going to be a short live. As I say, it's 20 minutes long. Come on. So what we're concerned about a little bit, some of these cracks, or what appear to be cracks, which could be, oh yeah, you can see we had some rubbing here. See those scratches? Those could be some stress fractures. Let's make this look even worse. It went to chewing. If anything interacted with this area here and broke it, which it wasn't, which is surprising, we'd definitely be over. But we have these parts on the cases here I'm not fond of. So anyway, friends, that's going to conclude the Carnage video, and I want to say thank you for watching, and we'll see you next time.